Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of From Page to Stage. I'm delighted to share with you this interview with Craig Whitney, who was one of our VIP authors in the M.A.D book. That was Making a Difference, Ways to Magnify Abundance, Vitality, and Freedom. This is a gentleman who has a very good story to tell, a really powerful story. So I'm going to ask you, Craig, can you give us a little snippet of what's brought you to this place in your life right now?
So, g'day everyone. My name's Craig and I'm the founder of the Second Chance Man, and I am a second chance man. Basically, what brought me to this moment in my life to share my story is that I've given myself, or learned to give myself, a second chance. Way back in 2017, I went through a mental breakdown or a mental awakening to others, which led me to some choices in my life, which led to some consequences that happened, which had a massive change in directory and direction in my life. I paid for some mistakes in 2018 through the court systems, and again in 2019. And it was with the help of connecting with people who connected with people who connected me with a massive group of men, a support network that helped me help myself to give myself a second chance. And of course, through my journey of healing, my journey of awakening, following the bouncing ball of reality versus conditioning, is what's led me to where I am today, where I've come to the point of putting together an idea. I've seen where other men have walked a lot like me through the justice system that need some sort of support that goes well beyond the conditioned and the societal support to a more one-on-one personal need. And if we broaden that support out to the wider network, out into the market, where the mums and dads of the working class, who are all doing the best they can with the resources that they have to try and survive in this ever-changing and ever more difficult world. That's what's led me to here, is to help men help themselves, give themselves a second chance before that danger point happens in their life and they tip over the edge.
So you're working primarily with men, exclusively with men?
I will work with women, but primarily with men. It's just the energetic value. If me and another woman get along really well, sure. Or if there's a third party, say if I'm working with a wife of a man, I can do it that way.
Right.
But hey, folks out there, your own personal support is vital as well.
Yes.
You know, if the missus is screaming at you to get some help, listen to her. And I'll work with the wives, providing that the man...
It's very often my experience of... I'm sorry, Craig. Carry on. I beg your pardon. I
will work with a man's wife.
Talking over you.
I will work with a man's wife if she's okay with it, and if he's okay with it, even if he may not be open in that moment within himself, full well knowingly that later on it may help him help himself from being separated from his family at some point due to what may become a consequential action, such as prison. So there's many ways to this paradigm.
Yeah.
But yes, the answer to your question, predominantly with men, yes, I will bring the whole support network in if I have to. I
mean, forgive me if I'm stereotyping, but my experience of men has been that I'm the man. I've got to do this myself. If I ask for help, there's a sense of weakness there and vulnerability that may not be one they want to look at.
That's what we call a shadow, and also a sense of denial, and also societal conditioning that we've been raised with as boys. You know, we take life on alone. I faced that myself. That was one of the biggest drivers that led me to my awakening, is I thought I could tackle the world on my own, not reach out for help, that I could be that lone wolf and not have some sort of supportive brotherhood around me, which evidently it worked, really, because it failed, but it worked at the same time because it awoken me to the sense that I needed some authentic brothers around me. I needed an authentic support network around me, not just a coach, but men who actually cared for me, who loved me in a way to see me grow.
I mean, I think that again, I'm looking from an outside in perspective, obviously being a woman here, but I think is that where the rise of men's sheds has come in, because there's been that need for a bit of coming alongside you guys.
So the rise of men's sheds, yes, it's community.
Mm.
We are tribal species by nature. We thrive in small communities,
Mhm.
not mass concrete cities like the jungles that we live in that completely pollute our souls, but small communities of 50 to 100 to 150 people strong, big enough for support and not too big to pollute. If that makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So we're talking about you were an author. You've been a published author now since August last year. So August 2023, the M.A.D book came out. Can you show us the gorgeous book?
This one right here.
Yay! There you go. And your name is on the front. Beautiful. Okay, so Craig was part of that book. But Craig, tell us, what other stuff have you written? And I mean, don't necessarily mean published, because writing is a very broad term. Tell us what other writing that you've been involved with.
So currently I'm gone on from this book to start to write my own book, where I've taken my whole life story and I've dissected it down into bite-sized chunks for men to digest so they can take that on board
Right.
and really feel inspired by a man who's been to the depths that they may or may not have been and overcame and shown resilience. Now I'm a quarter way through that. It's still in its writing phase, but it's coming together nicely. It shall be out in the new year. I'm not rushing it deliberately because I want to hold that magic and that authenticity and just let the journey unravel itself.
Beautiful. So it's your life story to date. Is it only I say only, is it a memoir? Is the intention that it's a memoir, or is the intention to be memoir and some pointers for opportunities for moving forward?
So it's pretty much a memoir itself, and it's also a transformational memoir. So within that memoir, I've combined the 4 pillars of how to give yourself a second chance, which is my transformational program, plus further themes that a man can take and go, right, well, okay, this segment or this story really impacted me. However, there's 5 to 8 steps here. Now, some of those steps may not apply to me right now, but there's other steps that I can take on immediately. And these other steps that may not apply now, I can come back to at a later point. So my whole intention is to be some sort of jigsaw puzzle for the man to put together himself in no sequential order.
Cool. So as you say, it's not this one has to follow, this one has to follow that way. Right. Okay.
My whole, if I use the word coaching, training, and philosophy is I live by the maps, not the territory. And what that means to me is every man is unique and beautiful in his own way.
Yeah.
I have my map of the world, my values, my beliefs, etc., etc. Each and every man out there has his values, beliefs, and map of the world. So for me to implode my map of the world onto another man and expect that man to mold into or be pigeonholed into my way of thinking, it doesn't sit well with me.
No.
This is where, when I've started to put this whole journey together of myself, it's like my intention was, well, what do I want? It's like I want to share my story, yes. However, I also want to share themes around it that men can tap into if they want, have it on tap. And themes like, working at your core values, working at your priorities, which are important skills in life. Things like putting together a plan. The subsections that are going in there, such as having an uncomfortable conversation or learning how to set boundaries for yourself to a loved one or to an employer or something like that. Simple little themes that are very important to a man that he can tack onto his toolbox that can go around his waist, and he can just pull his tools out whenever he needs, something to lift him up in life. We need a hammer to hammer nail in, right? Or we need a spanner to go maybe tighten a nut up, on the truck, or something like that. Think of it like that. Think of it like a tool belt, and all these little themes are added tools that are just bolted onto the tool belt. And as a man, you can just pick out a tool at your desire.
Yeah,
Life
cool.
skills, life skills created as life tools.
So from the lived experience, these are the life skills that I've learned, and these are the
Yeah.
ones that I suggest.
And every single tool that I'm putting together, I've learnt and I've lived myself. So there's no theory, so to speak.
It's not theoretical at all, is it? This is because that's the thing very often with sort of psychological self-help type things. There's the theory and there's the lived experience. And we're moving far more into an age of lived experience is far more what we're after than the theory of it. Yeah.
I've lived my moment of theory sitting in front of other men and digesting information through metaphor, story, drawing diagrams on paper.
Mm-hmm.
And I've taken that information from men around me, interpreted to my understanding, and then I've designed something that relates to me. And now I'm designing something that can relate to another man in simple, digestive language.
And what you were saying about the stories, are they so powerful? Because they get in under the conscious radar, and where the logical mind will go, I don't need that. Go, I can manage. Thank you. Are you expecting me to ask for help? Whereas your story can get in under that radar. And whether it's your personal story or whether it's an other story that you tell to illustrate your points, that's where the power of story comes in. And I'm sure you use that when you're speaking as well.
I do, yes. The thing about it as men, how we've learnt for millennia is sitting around a campfire, men of all ages, of all cultures, and listening to metaphors. There was not a man who got up with a whiteboard or a chalkboard and drew all these calculus diagrams or anything like that. It was simply one man sharing a story to another man. And it was the wisdom taken through story that was a lesson onto the younger man.
Yes, exactly.
That's my intention for this book.
And the thing is, as you said, even now, if you stick if you put a group of people, men and women, around a campfire, seconds they're telling stories. It's almost that, as you said, it's hardwired within us to pass on stories. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you.
It's how we learn. It's not how we just get in teaching, mate. Ooh, I'm going to teach someone something. So no, we just share. It's our underlying subconscious skill. It's how we communicate. It's through metaphor or story or even vignette, if you want to get to a technical term, which is a vignette's similar to a metaphor, but a more story.
Yeah.
Less process.
Yeah. But that's the thing, as you say, if you were bold enough to go, this is what you need to know. Don't. Very often you get the hands folded. They go, nope, not hearing that at all. Whereas if you put it in story form, we were saying, I was talking to somebody the other day about the same matter, that if you think about it, when we heard stories for the first time, generally they were told to us by people that we trusted. So immediately that sense of authority comes in because you're telling me a story. Oh, you must be somebody I can trust. Oh, and it gets in under that subconscious. Beautiful, beautiful. Oh, can I change sex for a bit? Because I'd love to know more about what you do. Yeah, that's another matter entirely. Take that to one side. Okay, so I know that you were a published author last year, and that your writing is part of your program. You're doing a solo book this year. And you've done some speaking as well, haven't you?
Done some public speaking, yes.
Yeah, tell us a bit more about your speaking.
So Toastmasters, low-end sort of speaking clubs, men's groups. It's where I predominantly hang around and hone my craft, so to speak.
Yeah.
I haven't done any high corporate paid gigs as of yet. I've been in front of, say, TEDx, but it's coming. It's coming.
Well, the thing with,
honing my edge, honing
oh
my edge.
yes, honing your craft, you know, the 10,000 hour rule.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. But speaking, naturally speaking, it's haunting to most people, not just men, actually, to get up in front of people and actually speak. Professional speaking or public speaking come as a skill originally to men in particular because they thought they were ostracized from the tribe, that they had done something wrong to the tribe. And if they didn't learn to speak up for themselves, they would have been extradited out of the tribe or killed by the tribe. So they had to speak up in front of elders and fellow tribesmen to share their version of the story to remain in the tribe. So that's
Yes.
where that sense of fear initially comes from. Fear of public speaking, you know, the butterflies in the belly, etc., nerves, anxiety, etc., etc. It's that predominant fear of worrying about that something's going to happen, or worrying about what other people think, that sense of fear. However, the very first keynote I did a 6.5 keynote back in 2017, and I blacked out. Literally blacked out halfway through it, forgot my lines, everything. But it was such an experience, and it gave me the lick of an ice cream of potential that when I went through my crisis and went through my healing, I found it easy to pick up a camera and just turn it on and speak impromptu without preparation. And now that I've returned to sort of Toastmasters and some speaking clubs and started to speak in front of men, I've had to start to prepare a little in order to speak. But that's also, I'm 80% there because because of the impromptu speaking that I've done through Toastmasters, that I can just rattle off a story off the top of my head and then maybe give some steps if asked for at the end, or just incorporate some wisdom within my story. So that's where I'm at in my speaking.
Oh, cool. I mean, there's was it Mark Twain said something about it takes him 3 weeks. It took him 3 weeks to prepare for an impromptu speech. So yes, if you know your material so well, if somebody hands you a mic, you get, okay, I'll do it, and off you go. And that's the joy of doing some of the Toastmasters exercises. If you've done improv, that's another way that people improve on their ability to be spontaneous. The point is, you know your material so well that you can share a story. You can share whatever is required at that moment. So yeah. And getting back to the story point, there was a wonderful quote by Les Brown: never make a point without a story, and never tell a story without a point. Because there are some people who will happily chat and chat and chat, and if there's no point to it, you go, where are we going with this?
Well, there's others
Yeah.
that will just pigeonhole people into a box. The 5 steps to this and the 5 steps to that. So, okay, that may fit to a degree, but it doesn't fit me. That stuff kind of died last decade.
Mm-hmm.
My
Right.
themes.
So I'm thinking then that let's have we've looked at, so the page and the stage are coming pretty much together, aren't they? Because the two support each other. One of the things that sometimes our audience are a little hung up on the fact that they are authors. They're not speakers. For that very reason that you were saying about what do people can think of me? And that risk of rejection. In Australia, we have the tall poppy syndrome. You stick your head above and somebody's going to knock it, slice your head off. And again, getting back to your point about the tribal business, if you stood up for yourself and said something different to the tribe, then you were out as well, weren't you? And so that was a very real fear that you would die, because without the tribal support around you, as you were saying just now, you're ostracized, you're put out. And that's
Exactly.
That's a death sentence. So that's where we're looking with the authors to say, come on, let's get you on the road to speaking about your work, because it's not an either or. I'm not either as an author or a speaker. It's a both and. So that's
It's a
where we go.
combination. Speaking and writing is my two big passions.
Mm.
Working with men one-on-one or in a group session is the bind. It binds it all together. But they each can't go without the other.
Yes, yeah, but that's it. So we've got to be able to speak about what we're doing. I was talking to one lady yesterday who her book published in 2017 and became a bestseller in 2023, because in between time she'd done a lot of talking about it.
Wow.
Go figure. So this is why I'm keen that people understand that you do need to speak as well as be an author. So for you, it all came around about the same time. Your transformational program, this 4 pillars, this is a coaching program that you do one-on-one in groups. How is that structured?
So it's structured at the moment to do one-on-ones. I've
Mhm.
framed it to do one-on-ones, but that's not to say I can't do groups. It can be easily switched to a group setting. I'm in the process of modulating it at the moment. Again, themes, it'll just be 4 pillars with a whole bunch of themes under each pillar, and every man can come and pick what's applicable to him through my help if need be. Yeah, for one-on-one, I work with men one-on-one, and then we go through initially at first what you call a Phoenix Rising. So this is a discovery sort of session.
Mhm.
We work out where a man is and where he wants to go. And then I present him with different themes that present different pathways that he'd like to take. So that
Cool.
may be fitness, that may be a physical fitness, that may be taking responsibility of his life. There's a whole network of themes that this man could potentially tap into in order to map his journey out. And essentially similar in the group environment, but how I'd present it in the group is every man has a buddy system, support accountability buddy. So there's accountability to every man. And then they pretty much coach each other. And then I act as a facilitator and then coach the whole group. That way everyone shares the gold.
Yeah. And you're building community and deeper relationships amongst the fellows as well then, aren't you? Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. So you're based in Queensland. The one-on-one work that you do, is it physically in person, sort of touchable, or will you do it Zoom wise? Obviously we've got a global audience here. I'm just checking in with you. How does it work?
Domestically, depending on location, I can do it one-on-one in person.
Mm-hmm.
However, majority of it will be done via Zoom.
Sure.
If
Because
in
I'm
doubt,
assuming that, do you have a global, you have the propensity for working globally, don't you?
yes, I have the potential to work globally, and I want to work globally, and it's my vision to go globally, to work with men all over the world in different cultures, because every culture will teach me something about
Yes.
how men operate. And I'm very
Yeah.
interested in sociological aspects of how culture works, particularly
Yes.
in this society. That men's work is not just a Western philosophy with incorporated teachings from other cultures.
Yeah.
There's
I
other
mean, that
different
both of
cultures
us have,
from a traditional perspective that I can then incorporate into my teachings as well.
because both of us have experienced cultures other than Australian,
Yeah.
and it's fascinating, isn't it? Negotiating and working out what's appropriate here and what's not appropriate here. And so, yes, I mean, the cultural conditioning, as you mentioned right at the start, is actually a very significant factor for everyone, because we learn what is appropriate in this situation, in this culture.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so as we're winding up here, Craig, I'm going to ask you, do you have any words of wisdom, any nuggets that you can share with the audience as to how you embody your written words, how you take your words and bring them alive on stage?
Bring them alive. That's a very good question. The way I do it is I'm very detail conscious. So I've got to make sure that whatever I present, I know by heart, I know by character, I know by word, I know by sequence. So how that, I know a little detailed, right? Um, how that unfolds is the first stage is I write everything out. I brain dump an idea. Whatever
Mhm.
comes to mind on the theme that I want to talk about. Empty the mind.
Yep.
Get it all out. And then the second tier of that is go back and refine that. And then time myself. Start to mold the clay by stopwatch and by pen. Edit, rewrite, reword if possible, spell check, and all
Mhm.
that. And the third tier is sequence it. Put it into sequences. Like a good speech, the way I've been taught is broken down into segments. So break it up, and then time.
Mm.
Get my timing right, and then I'll go over it again, timed, and then I'll start to check in on my emotions and where I'm at. And then I'll look at the words and then emotionally work out what words get me excited and what words trigger that emotional roller
Yeah.
coaster. Because I want to bring in all emotions.
Oh, yes.
So
Yeah.
I want this to be like going on a roller coaster at your favorite theme park, ups and downs and lows and highs, and then work out where my lowest point is, and then work out where my highest point is, and start off in between and navigate to the low point and finish off in the high point, not over the top in a
Mhm.
rah rah high, 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 but high in a point where you can be released back out the front doors of that center auditorium, men's circle, and go, right, I really learned something here that I'm going to remember, something memorable here,
Yeah.
something that I've anchored in to my body that, hey, that I can go talk to my workmates
Yep.
with confidence over the smoko table in a couple of days' time and go, hey, you want to check this man out? He is something to speak about, a message, not just rah rah motivation, but life lessons, a life teaching,
Yes.
something that you learn from through wisdom. Go check him out. So I'm very detail conscious on my words. I want to see what words impact me because I know what impacts me may impact others. You know, either resourceful or unresourceful or a low or a high sort of note.
So when you're out on stage, are you also able to scan the audience and go, right, this one worked? Yeah, that didn't particularly hit this audience. Yeah.
I'm learning that. That's a different skill on its own to be able to read your audience.
Mhm.
And that multitasking. Because I'm so linear focused, it's slowly coming, but it's going to take its time.
Yeah.
I know for my women mentors, they can do it instantly. They can scan the audience and go, right, this fella's over here falling asleep, and this fella on the other side of the room checking his phone, playing Mafia Wars on it, and the fella at the back's nigging his mate in the ribs with an elbow. He's bored. Um, you know, I'm learning that. I've got to a stage where I can read my audience of who's who in the room. You know, from the skeptics to the energetic people to the emotional to the laid back. And then I
Mm.
can target different aspects of my message to appeal. So if I need, if say a whole bunch of lawyers and accountants walk into the room, well, then my message is going to be geared more heavily on facts and figures
Yes.
over story.
Details.
Yeah. Because if I just pitch a story to a lawyer, they're going to cross everything that can be crossed and I'll lose them.
Yep.
And same to someone who's high energetic, who's that people person, who's the life of the party. If I come at them with statistics and facts and figures and academia, they're going to be, they'll go to sleep. But if I come at them with a high energetic story, they're going to be, wow.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly. And the art
What's
of it
that?
is also being able then to know how you structure what you're saying so that you tick off the most impatient people, you keep them in with you. You give the emotional side of it, you give the slow and steady people who really want to know the ins and outs, and the detailed focused people who are going to go, but what if, and you answer the objections as you're going, and yeah, there's a whole science behind it, isn't there?
I tend to write more than what I intend to give,
Mhm.
specifically for reason because I'm speaking to multiple different personalities in the room.
Yes.
And I can't entertain everybody at once, but I can do my best to hold people's attention. And if someone wants more information, yeah, hey, see me after the keynote, and I'll Facebook message you a link, to a academic mental health organization. You can read all the facts and figures to your heart's content of a 300-page journal, whatever.
Mhm.
Because I do read all that stuff myself, because being
I know
detailed.
you're a very detail focused person, as you've said, because you like to have literally chapter and verse in your
I don't go
making
overboard
references.
where I'm not like a lawyer where I know the law handbook off by heart or anything like that, but
No,
I
but you've
do.
got your references to hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm,
I've been around
beautiful.
academics, I've been asleep at times. It's having that balance because
Yes.
I feed off energy and I do like a good story to bring my energy back up.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, because it is really important that we understand that there are ways of bringing those words to life. Bring that energy, bring that sense of, yep, this is important. And whilst I've written it, it's going to be even more important as you hear it, because when you make that connection with your audience, then they go, okay, tell me more, because I want to know more about how I work with Craig. Because as you said earlier on, they go, whoa, this guy's got a marvelous story and he's given me something I can take away and implement. If he's done that in this little section, what else has he got? And that's where you invite them into your world a little bit deeper. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. So tell me, have we missed anything off? Anything else you'd like to share with us?
I think we've crossed everything off, at least as far as
Oh,
I'm concerned.
yeah,
I'm I haven't been too public about the second chance man. I've been sort of launching curiosity, just
yeah,
keeping it curious, just generate the what is it factor. That's
yeah.
it.
Well, you've been seeding, just dropping in those seeds. And this is where it's going. I'm looking
Exactly.
forward to hearing and seeing your book when it comes out later in the year, because that will be a really powerful book, I have no doubt at all, in a much needed space. Much needed
Yes.
space. Yeah. Thank you very much, Craig, for being our guest and showing your from page to stage.
Oh,
For now, bye from us.
thank you.